Welcome to the lesson on analyzing cultural experience in a literary text. In this lesson, we will be analyzing the cultural experience reflected in Chinua Achebe Things Fall Apart. We will examine how the protagonist's point of view of a different culture ultimately leads to his downfall and the themes that arise from this clash of cultures. By the end of this lesson, you will have a better understanding of how to analyze cultural experience in a literary text and the impact it can have on the story. Let's get started. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to analyze the cultural experience reflected in Things Fall Apart. Understand how the protagonist's point of view of a different culture brings to his downfall. Understanding character's viewpoint. Character's viewpoint refers to the perspective of a character in the story. If the readers must experience the events of the story just as the main character S, the engagement must be done in such a way that the entire story is set to that character S viewpoint. That is the reason it is advised to stick to one particular viewpoint throughout the story. A character cannot be chosen at random and made the focus of narration. It should be made sure that the character travels throughout the story, which will ensure that the readers are not left out on any tiny detail. Every information regarding the characters and the story must be provided to the readers so that they become a part of the story and feel every emotion of every character. The character's viewpoint helps readers understand the development of characters' motivation in a story. The character's perspective, interest, and hatred can be clearly understood when his or her point of viewpoint is analyzed. Here is an activity on character's viewpoint. Sticking to one particular viewpoint blank. Choose the correct answers that all apply. Here is an activity on character's viewpoint. Character's viewpoint blank. Choose the correct answers that all apply. Cultural experience. The readers can understand various cultures upon reading literary works written and published across the world. The writings of Chinua Achebe help the readers get the essence of African culture and tradition. His work, Things Fall Apart, provides a broad African cultural experience to his readers. Things Fall Apart is one of the novels by the first African author to gain worldwide acclaim. It was the debut novel of Chinua Achebe, and it was published in 1958. Even though the novel is fictional, the author Chinua Achebe has stated that the book contains Africa's spiritual history. The story focuses on the Igbo culture that has started to change after the arrival of missionaries in Nigeria. Click here to read the full text. Summary of Things Fall Apart. The story is about the protagonist Okonkwo, who is a wealthy and respected warrior of the Umuofia clan. Though successful, he is afraid not to become like his father, who died in disgrace, leaving debts in many villages unsettled. Okonkwo became a clansman, warrior, farmer, and family provider. His son, Enwoy, is 12 years old, whom he finds to be lazy. Okonkwo is afraid that his son would end up becoming a failure like his father, Unoka. Okonkwo takes charge of Ikemefuna and a virgin in a settlement with a neighboring tribe. Ikemefuna is an ideal son. Even though Ikemefuna is a good boy and calls him father, Okonkwo does not let himself show any affection for him. During the week of peace, Okonkwo beats her severely for her negligence and breaks the peace of the sacred week. Later, Ogbuefi Ezeudu, a respected village elder, tells Okonkwo that, according to Oracle, Ikemefuna must be killed. As the boy calls him father, Okonkwo should not take part in the boy's death. Okonkwo lies to Ikemefuna and sends him with Umuofia tribesmen. When the tribesmen attack the boy, Ikemefuna seeks refuge from Okonkwo. Okonkwo, to look brave in front of his tribesmen, cuts the boy down despite the oracle's admonishment. When Okonkwo returns home, Enwoy understands that his friend is dead. After some time, the death news of Ogbuefi Ezeudu is announced. At Ogbuefi Ezeudu's large and elaborate funeral, the men beat drums and fire their guns. Tragedy builds when Okonkwo's gun explodes and kills Ogbuefi Ezeudu's 16-year-old son. As killing a clansman is considered a crime, Okonkwo and his family goes on exile for 7 years to atone. Therefore, he gathers his most valuable belongings and takes his family to his mother's village, Mbanta. The men from Ogbuefi Ezeudu's quarter burn Okonkwo's buildings and kill his animals to wash the village of his sin. During his exile, Okonkwo comes to know about the arrival of white men to neighboring villages. He also comes to know that white men have destroyed a village called Abe. Soon afterward, 6 missionaries travel to Mbanta. They tell the tribesmen that their gods are false and worshipping one god is idolatrous. Though missionaries' leader, Mr. Brown attempts to convert the tribesmen to Christianity, he does not allow his followers to antagonize the clan. When Mr. Brown becomes ill, he is replaced by Reverend James Smith. He converts Enoch and challenges to expose an egwugwu during the annual ceremony to honor the earth deity, an act comparable to killing an ancestral spirit. The next day, egwugwu burns Enoch's compound and Reverend Smith's church. This incident irritates the district commissioner, and the leaders of Umuofia are made to appear before him. They were subjected to physical abuse and thrown in jail. After the release, Okonkwo kills the missionary leader and requests his clansmen to wage war against them. On the contrary to his belief, the crowd allows the messengers to escape, informing Okonkwo that they are not ready to fight against them. When the district commissioner arrives at Okonkwo's house, he notices that Okonkwo has hanged himself. As committing suicide is considered a sin, his clansmen are not allowed to touch his dead body. Here is an activity on Things Fall Apart. Match the items. Select the correct answer from the drop-down for each item. Clash of cultures in Things Fall Apart. One of the fascinating parts of Things Fall Apart is the battle that the protagonist Okonkwo faces throughout his life. Okonkwo fights with himself that he does not want to be a failure like his father. He works hard to build a distinguished reputation. The first part of the story largely focuses on the pre-colonial Igbo cultural world. As the story progresses, Okonkwo's life, as well as his community, slowly loses balance. The tradition of the Umuofia focuses mainly on respecting family unity and worshipping the Igbo gods. Upon the arrival of Christian missionaries, the Umuofia traditions and customs are entirely broken down. The clash between cultures begins to pop up, and cultural misunderstandings lead to various complications in the story. The missionaries misperceive the native culture of Igbo culture, and the arrival of new culture only hastens the tragic fate of the protagonists. This is clear when Reverend Smith views Africans as heathens, and the Igbo tribe people initially criticize the Christians and the missionaries as foolish. Chinua Achebe in this work conveys the fact that Africans' misunderstandings of themselves and Europeans need realignment as much as do the misconceptions of Africans by the West. Here is an activity on analyzing cultural experience. Drag the labels to the correct slots. Lesson review. Things Fall Apart is a novel written by Nigerian author Chinua Achebe in 1958. Understanding the character's viewpoint helps to understand their motives and goal. Reading a range of literature from across the world will help in having a wide cultural experience. Lesson vocabulary words. Culture. All the knowledge and values shared by a society. Exile. A person who is expelled from home. Missionary. Someone who attempts to convert others to a particular doctrine or religion. Oracle. A prophecy. Spiritual. Concerned with sacred matters.